Rocketry is gradually changing its stance on liquid methane in rocket engines after long decades of saying no to it. Longstanding reliance on the Russian kerosene-fueled RD-180 engine ended when ULA decided to kick the ERD-180 to the curb. They then chose Blue Origin's BE-4 engine powered by liquid methane as the fuel to power the first stage of the new Vulcan Centaur rocket. As a country famous for its SpaceX simulation art, China mainly chooses methane-powered rockets to copy instead of focusing on other types. If liquid methane is said to be a current hot trend, SpaceX is truly the leader because 12 years ago, it was almost the only company that accurately predicted the bright future of methane fuel. And finally, they are right. SpaceX's new fuel changes everything. Discuss everything about this in today's episode of Techmap. But before we begin, our team extends a warm welcome. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and enable notifications to stay up to date with the latest news from SpaceX and the world of space. With that in mind, let's jump straight into today's episode. For half a century, RP-1, liquid hydrogen, solid rocket, and hypergolic fuels were the propellant of choice for rocket manufacturers. But in recent years, liquid methane has become an attractive alternative for rocket propulsion. In its normal state, methane is a naturally occurring gas found in abundance within soil and rock sediments below the Earth's surface. The majority of it is created by the decay and breakdown of organic matter beneath the Earth's surface at high temperatures. In rocket propulsion, liquid methane is a cryogenic fuel used to power orbital rockets. The cryogenic fuel means the gas has to be cooled to temperatures of -162 Celsius or -260 Fahrenheit or below to turn into a liquid. Like all other fuels used in orbital rockets, liquid methane needs an oxidizer to combust. This comes in the form of liquid oxygen. The fuel and oxidizer are mixed in the combustion chamber, where they combust to form the hot gases that propel the spacecraft. For the Starship, SpaceX is switching to methane, which as fuel is somewhere between hydrogen and kerosene. Methane has a bit more specific impulse 370 seconds than kerosene 360 seconds in a vacuum at the same chamber pressure with a reference value of 7 megapascal. But this is counterbalanced by RP-1's lower bulk density, which is the density of fuel plus oxygen. Although the density of methane is 430 kilograms per cubic meter, it needs 3.5 parts of oxygen compared to 2.1 parts for RP-1. Hence, the methane engine will carry less fuel but more oxygen by weight, around 20% larger tank than RP-1. Coke formation temperature for methane is approximately double as high in the rocket chambers, supporting the reusability of vehicles, while RP-1 produces a chain of carbon and chute particles that degrade the reusability of the rocket. On the other hand, liquid hydrogen is a popular first-stage ignition with a specific impulse of approximately between 350 seconds and 540 seconds. This has also been used as second and further stage propellant if RP-1 was used as first-stage fuel. Liquid hydrogen technology was considered a very important achievement by NASA because of the challenge of its cryogenic characteristics that require extreme care to handle its liquid form at -253 Celsius or -423 Fahrenheit. But now, the production of methane doubles every decade. External energy is not required, so methane does not need active cooling while passive cooling will work. While testing hydrogen propellant, considerable failure in components has occurred due to the process called hydrogen embrittlement. Various contact between gaseous hydrogen molecules and metal components at the temperature range -260 Celsius to more than 2000 Celsius creates uncertainties in the brittle character of the used component. Various metal hydrides are also produced, causing a critical problem. Expansive and laborious wall treatment of components can be avoided in the case of methane. Methane turbopumps are less complex than hydrogen turbopumps, which reduces complications in the plumbing of fuel. Honestly, liquid methane's characteristic is just a secondary reason leading to switching to methane of SpaceX on Starship. The point is that they want to manufacture this kind of fuel on Mars. In 2017, NASA launched its Artemis program with the aim of returning humans to the Moon and establishing a base for further exploration of the solar system, including Mars, a project that is also the main focus of private aerospace companies like SpaceX. Taking all the fuel required for such a long trip will be impossible for any orbital rocket. Instead, scientists are looking to produce the fuel needed for the spacecraft on the planned destinations themselves, which is where the real advantage of liquid methane comes in. If a production facility generating methane can be established on Mars, it will not only help to make interplanetary travel a more realistic endeavor, but also make it sustainable. If successfully implemented, Mars can also be used as a base for further exploration. Once SpaceX can produce its own liquid oxygen and is involved in making the methane, the cost in general will be cut down. Elon described oxygen as almost free. This is a future state statement where SpaceX will make massive solar-powered oxygen capture and liquefaction systems. Liquid oxygen is $40 per metric ton to distill from the air. $240,000 for 200,000 kilograms of the payload is $1.2 per kilogram, or about $0.5 per pound. If SpaceX reduces the cost with the direct production of liquid oxygen and production of methane from natural gas, they could reduce fuel costs by half to $0.6 per kilogram, or $0.3 per pound of payload. Labor and other non-fuel costs will be vastly lower for the SpaceX Starship because of the massively lower initial cost, limiting financing and interest costs, and because of vastly higher speed for more users each day. So, how will SpaceX produce methane on Mars? Researchers have devised a new way to create methane-based rocket fuel that they hope could make return trips from Mars far more feasible. This method was previously theorized by Elon Musk and engineers at SpaceX, who considered ways to use carbon dioxide and water from ice on Mars to have the necessary carbon and hydrogen necessary to create methane. In 2019, scientists released a new global map showing water ice that is as little as 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters below the red planet's surface. With data in hand, the research team located at least one promising landing spot for future astronaut missions, a big zone in the northern hemisphere's Arcadia Planitia. This area has a lot of water ice close to the surface and is in the ideal location for a human Mars mission because it is in a temperate mid-latitude region with plenty of sunlight, the research team wrote in a new study describing the findings. Further study of the treasure map could unlock more landing locations too, according to NASA. Water is a precious resource for future astronaut missions to Mars, where the space agency wants to land in the 2030. The hope is that instead of hauling all of the water astronauts will need from Earth to the red planet, astronauts could get their drinking water and the components of water containing oxygen and hydrogen for rocket fuel from Mars itself. So, in theory, future astronauts could use this technique to turn local Martian materials like ice and carbon dioxide to make rocket fuel for a return trip home. As far as I know, this new method is only a proof of concept right now, meaning it has only been tested in labs but not in real-world conditions. To create this new method, the team took an existing two-step method used to turn water into breathable oxygen on the International Space Station and made it into a one-step process. They did this using a single-atom zinc catalyst. The zinc is fundamentally a great catalyst because it has time, selectivity, and portability, a big plus for space travel. By narrowing a two-step process down to one step, it makes the mechanism more compact and portable, and thus easier to transport for use on Mars. This new method takes atomically dispersed zinc, which acts as a catalyst for the reaction, helping to create methane from carbon dioxide. The process, using this specialized catalyst, efficiently converts carbon dioxide into methane. Many launch vehicles today don't use methane-based rocket fuel, so this process would have to be compatible with future propulsion technologies. However, some companies are already hopping on board to develop and use methane-based rocket fuel. For example, in addition to SpaceX's Starship Raptor engines and Blue Origin's BE-4 engine, there are also Firefly Alpha and a Chinese firm, namely Landspace Technology with its rocket Suqiu Y3. And that just about wraps it up for today's episode. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification feature so you don't miss any space-important updates. Your support is our driving force to continue delivering high-quality content. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you next time.